Hello and good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to another episode of the FM Launch Hour. Today, we're looking at team and team building, teamwork and team building, how to get things done as a group in our various organizations. So, welcome you to the session and thank you for making the time to join us. My name is Paul Erubami and I'm the Managing Director of Max-Migold Limited, also the President of the Association of Facility Management Practitioners Nigeria. There's a lot going on in our industry, and if you're not in the association or you're not trained as a facility manager or not networking with other professionals, if you work in the built environment, then you're missing a lot. It's my invitation to you to come join us and make a greater profession for all of us in the built environment. The Max-Migold Facility Management Mastercraft Diploma batch 22 will be coming up on August 19th, and we encourage all those who have interest in working in facility management, running businesses in the service industry in facility management, or any other value-added or solution-providing company or individual to send themselves and team members to participate in this training. It's a comprehensive 3-month program that covers all that you need to know about facility management from the strategic level all the way to the operational level in FM. And this is a flagship program because there's no alternative to this comprehensive training that gives you a designation, a credential, as well as a network that's growing over 1,000 now. And you belong to the largest professional body of facility managers on the African continent as an alumni of the FM Mastercraft Diploma. Take advantage of our ongoing bonanzas that are running till the end of July. There's a massive discount on the physical training, which is already 750,000, but you can still pay as low as 600 for it. There is a 10% discount going for the virtual class, in addition to a 20% drop. The old price is 400,000, and that's what we're still going to be having. So I'll just get straight into today's launch hour session, the teamwork and team building. And I hope we can have a good time sharing this knowledge together and applying them in our work. For most of us, teamwork is a part of everyday life. Whether it's at home, in the community, or at work, we are often expected to be a functional part of a performing team, right? Teamwork is a part of everyday life. There's really there are very few things we can do, by ourselves that we can do on our own. Most of the things we do, in serving others in our professions, have to do with working with people. And so, in this session, we're going to have as our distinct objectives to understand the types of teams, the benefits of various team building activities, as well as strategies for developing teams and increasing teamwork for productivity within our organizations. Okay, so we're going to be covering everything, teamwork in today's session. Having a strong team will benefit any organization and will lead to more successes than not, right? It's easy to have individual stars, individuals that can do very well. But until you get them working together, you can't be successful as an organization. So our entire, success of an organization depends on how much we can get the value of each person, harness it into a cohesive solution for success. So if each person is good at what they do, because we operate as a system, if we don't operate as a system on network and know what the big picture is and know all of the pieces of the puzzle that we all are to the final picture that we're trying to paint, picture of success. If we don't understand all of that and know how we fit in and how the next person fits in and be in agreement on how each person should play their role, we may not be able to build success of any type in organizations. So that's the whole idea of today's session. In 1966, educational psychologist Bruce Wayne Tuckman was charged by his boss at the Naval Medical Research Institute, Bethesda, with a review to review 50 articles and come up with a summary of what team behavior should be, trying to get people to work together. And then he came up with the 4 models. There were 4 models initially. There were no adjoining phase, which was later expanded to include the adjoining phase. The forming stage, when a team comes together, the forming stage, the norming stage, the performing stage, and the adjoining stage, right? So I use this to describe how teams, what we call team dynamics, right? So what happens when you try to get a team to do things, when you are trying to achieve a goal, when you are trying to get something done, and you put people together and say, all of you, you have to achieve A, B, C. What normally happens is there are series of processes that run their course almost naturally, right? Because we're all individuals from different backgrounds and different habits. We are coming together to achieve one thing, because that's the whole idea of a team, a group of people that are trying to achieve a common goal. If you are trying to achieve different things, even if you are sitting together, seeing yourself together, calling yourself a team, you're not a team. You have to be all focused on achieving one understood goal by all parties. Okay, but as soon as you are brought together, whether by your own doing, when you come together to create a team of your own, or like a study team, we are going to pass our exam, our CHM exam this year. We're going to form a team of 20 of us or 10 of us to help each other study. The goal is defined. The people are there, and they all want to have shared responsibilities to ensure that each person passes the exam as they approach it during the year. So that's the fundamental basis. There's been a purpose, and there's a group of people. That purpose or goal or objective is the driving force. Now, be that as it may, the team having come together needs to go through certain stages, certain processes to get to the point where they can begin to achieve their goals. The first one is the forming stage. Each person comes into the group and they get to first, have something like an orientation. There is that thing that brings us together. We want to learn about what we are supposed to achieve. We want to learn about each other. We want to learn about, the processes, resources available to us. So we'll talk about orientation, testing, getting to know each other. There will be anxieties. There will be misconceptions. There will be all kinds of things that, can try to work against us as individuals coming together. Because we are still new to each other. We are all in the learning mode, right? So we just absorb all the knowledge and information. And then we have the storming stage. The second point in the sequence is characterized by conflict and polarization around interpersonal issues, right? Individuals begin to define their preferred way of working. This time we've spent time in orientation. We understand what we're doing. We've tested. We know what each person is, but we want to begin to assert ourselves. Our uniqueness can bring about conflicting preferences. And this can lead to behaviors that are resistant to group cohesion, right? But the storming stage is also necessary, right? It's like we are trying each other out. We're trying to see who we can dominate. We're trying to see who will be dominating over us. We're trying to see how our preferences interact with the preferences of others. There are things that we can adjust. There are things we cannot adjust. We need to see the possibility of even being in that team in the first place. And then after everybody has, gone through this storming, which is more negative in orientation, we begin to norm. So the norming stage, resistance is overcome. In this stage, there's more cohesiveness. Standards begin to evolve. We will begin to have certain agreements on our processes. How should we make decisions, for example? Who should take certain roles and so on and so forth. They begin to emerge. We begin to hold each other accountable to decisions taken by the group. At that stage, we say we are in the norming stage. Each person now begins to get their own assignments as we go into the performing stage. Each person begins to get their own assignments. They get their tools, they begin to function and contribute into the goals of the organization. In this instance, a structure has emerged. We all knew what we were trying to achieve. Now we have a system for delivering it. Over time, we'll become better at it and be able to deliver. But at the adjoining stage, we are closing out. If depending on the kind of team, if it's an ad hoc team, the team is being dissolved or disbanded at the end of the project. If it's a standing committee or team that works together to continually perform, there may be no adjourning, but there may be projects, like milestones, start and stop different activities and projects, which may be seen like adjournment, but in all, we are all still together in that kind of team. Okay. Casey Stengel said, getting good players is easy. Getting them to play together is the hard part. That's to further buttress that, that ideal of teamwork. People have to work together. And of course, there are different types of teams. If you work with people on the same department, the same organization, and you are not together in the same location, we can say you're a virtual or remote team. If you were put together for one activity, perform it and get disbanded, we'll say you're an ad hoc team. If you are part of a standing committee, people that are responsible for certain things on a perpetual basis, we say you are a standing committee or a traditional team, right? So all of these teams will require a team leader, someone who directs the team to accomplish its task, provides the conducive environment. The team facilitator helps to make sure issues are resolved, things are happening for the team. Every time there's a need to get something done, he's like the resource provider. Both the leader and the team facilitator may not necessarily be in the team, but in some cases they are in the team. Sometimes a manager can create a team, right? If you create a team, even if you have a team lead leading that team, there are certain influences you still have over the team because they report to you. Okay, and then of course there will be a team recorder, somebody who puts down the points, usually a secretary, and then there's usually a timekeeper, somebody whose job is basically sometimes not even an appointed position. It's what we call an emerging position within the team where somebody just becomes the de facto check and balance of everybody in the team. And then, of course, all of us in the team are there for a purpose. There's some knowledge, some skills in our minds that will go towards the results that we want to achieve. And we want to be in the team because we want to share that knowledge. So this is something that makes an effective team. If you have people in the team who will not be interested in sharing their knowledge, who will not be interested in participating or pulling their weight, you have a problem, because that is a contagious situation you have right there, where somebody can become a distraction to the entire team. Okay. So for traditional teams, some common characteristics: a team gains a shared understanding and purpose among team members, right? Teams require mutually agreed upon operating principles such as agendas, procedures, processes for getting things done. They are independent, right? Everyone works for the good of the team, not for itself, right? So teams that are effective, they for me to be successful, even though I've gotten my own piece of work to do, I need the next man to do his own. So I'm dependent, and we're all interdependent, across the team. Effective team distinguish tasks from process, right? How they do things, which is the process, is just as important, if not more important than what they do, which is the task. And then there are teams that just come up on their own and they are self-directed. Take, for example, a group of people working in the FM team deciding to take on initiatives around sustainability, for example, and start holding meetings to, pull together ideas on how they can increase energy efficiency, increase waste segregation and recycling, and so on and so forth, even without being necessarily mandated, as an organizational function to do this. We'll talk about the virtual teams, the remote teams, also called e-teams. People work away from each other, but with the aid of technology, there are so many things we can do together. I have many friends who are working in Nigeria, but they don't have any colleague they work with on a daily basis in Nigeria. They're all in different countries across the globe. And this is enabled now because of the technologies that allows us to work real time, seeing ourselves and getting things done. One common challenge with these virtual teams, especially with geographical spread of team members, is the fact that you might have to, maybe let's assume you are a team leader, you might have to choose the times for different activities, in such a way that people in different time zones will be able to meet up. I had a meeting once where the meeting was scheduled for 6 p.m. I think CST, that's an American time, 6 p.m. And that 6 p.m. will be somewhere around 1 a.m. for me. And so I called, I contacted the team leader and said, hey, it looks like this meeting, there must be something wrong with the timing. And he said, no, there's nothing wrong with the timing. Every time we have met in the past, we have chosen time that has been convenient for you and not convenient for a few others because of their own time zone. So this time, we have chosen a time that's convenient for others and not convenient for you. And it made a lot of sense, right? But good thing is that we in West Africa, in Africa, we seem to be in the middle of the earth. So if somebody picks a time that is midday anywhere in the world, it's probably our morning or our evening. So in a sense, we get a lot of advantage for being here in the middle. But that timing must be understood by all members. And it's also helpful for you as a team member to know how the time conversion works. So you're not logging into a meeting too early or missing it all together because you couldn't convert a 4 p.m. GST +4, for example, to our own GMT +4, to our own GMT +1, and that can become a challenge if you're not able to know whether it is 3 hours before or 3 hours after, right? So some of those little things you need to sort out. But the good thing about that now is there's Google, right? So I'll just ask Google, what is 4 p.m. GMT plus 4 in Lagos, right? It tells me exactly the time I should get in. So yeah, it's easier nowadays. So I set my calendar for the right time based on the conversion, not go and put 4 p.m. in my calendar, and my calendar is not adjusted with the time zone that was given to me. All right, let's look a little bit into that forming stage. What makes a good team? A good team are able to bond. They are able to blend together. That first stage where there's orientation, they begin to define their dependencies on each other. They begin to set the process with which they're going to deliver their results is very key, right? And so people make introductions to each other. They come together. They, initially you have some uncertainty and apprehension as you're going to meet new people, right? Would I like them? Would they like me? And so on. Especially for very brand new environment where the teams are being created by people who have not met themselves before, right? So it's important that as leaders, we are able to prepare some kind of material, some kind of content for team orientation. So the uncertainty and the apprehension can be reduced if we have information ready, because we as leaders or managers, we are aware that people, will need time to get to know each other. I want to make those introductions proper. So for example, if I'm asking people to introduce themselves in an occasion or in an event or in a meeting, it's not just enough to say, hey, introduce yourself, right? It's also good to put a structure around what the person will introduce. So tell us your first name and last name, tell us your role, tell us the mission you work for, tell us, one key difficulty you have with the work that you do that you hope this training will resolve for you. Now, by giving that 5 points, guideline for introduction, it's easy for each person to have the same type of information about each other, right? And you have chosen those particular items because it helps them to know about each other. For example, you come together for a training and you're going to do some activities, you're going to learn together, you're going to interact together. Understand a little bit about people's backgrounds, where they work, will not only enhance the kind of communication and kind of question and answers that go on within the team, but also give you a bigger picture of the kind of paradigm of that individual, how the person thinks, the kind of environment that person is coming from, and how that will affect the things you are going to do together as a team. And beyond that, networking is beyond, whatever you've done together as a team. You now know each other, and then you begin to get, connected for other things in the future because of one team activity that you guys were put together. Because the members of a new team may experience uncertainty and apprehension, it's important to help members feel comfortable and that they are at a part of a group, that they are part of a group. It's very important that team leaders do this. Then the next stage is the stage of team development, right? Where there is some team members will now begin to fill certain roles and the team is starting to come together, right? So the reason for the team's creation is now more obvious. We've moved away from our personal who we are to getting into the job. We've brought something about who we are into the job that needs to be done, right? And conflict is inevitable because it's obvious that we are not always the same. We are not birds of the same feather, as it were. Even birds of the same feather, they also have conflicts, right? Their preferences, their habits, their behaviors, their ways of thinking that come out of our programming, our culture, our background, our genetic makeup, our experiences, the stereotypes that we hold that would affect everything we do. And we are doing all of this now in a new group that we just became part of. And so it's very important that we manage this very carefully. Now, is conflict a bad thing? It is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It just needs to be managed better. And so if you're the one putting together a group, do not shy away from conflicts within the team. Do not say it is their problem, let them go and resolve it. And do not say, I want to prevent conflict at all costs, because what that will do is that you would have muzzled some people from being able to express themselves. And when that happens, the best ideas might just become lost. It's also possible for all members of the team to just come in together and say, look, because we want to have peace, we're not going to have any conflicts. And to avoid conflict, we always have consensus. The first idea that pops up, everybody says it's okay. The first idea that pops up, everybody says it's okay. What will happen is that you will have very inefficient results because of that need to have consensus. So the storming stage is a key stage, right? Don't see it as a problem. Don't see it as something that has to be done away with, something that has to be prevented. I know that one of the results of a good team is not just the goal achievement or the objective accomplishment, but also the cohesion, the team cohesion that come out of the group. So that if you ask people who have worked together in the team, would you like to work with this person again, or would you like to work again with the same group? The answer should be yes, right? The answer should be yes, for you to feel that that team has come out successful, all right? And for you to manage this from a external point of view as a leader, you need to be assertive. You need to be able to manage communication. You need to be able to direct, create a structure around how the team communicates and take decisions, right? For example, if you want a team to make a decision and you already said, okay, if you guys don't have an agreement, why don't you put a vote, as a procedure? That's a structure in itself, right? So instead of allowing one dominant minority to impose his will on others, a simple vote can be used to take decisions. But somehow that structure can come from you who is putting the team together. So you are providing what I'll call a guide, more like a guide on how teams should operate and work. And as a follower, our job in team is not really to just go in there and wait until an assignment is given to us and then we'll go and do it. Our jobs in team is to share our own ideas. There's something good that each person knows that comes in, so when we say good ideas, it's common because everybody has a good idea. What's uncommon is people who work hard enough to bring them about. Bringing those good ideas together to create something that gives us the results we're looking for is the main reason why we are part of a team. So you go into a team and thoughts and ideas are being pulled together. You cannot shy away. You cannot keep yours to yourself. You cannot say, I don't want anybody's problem. I have to be quiet, just to make sure that I don't provoke anything. No, that's not the idea. Because at the end of the day, we want to achieve results that we can all be proud of. The third stage of team development is the numbing stage. By now, the team should be in place, and everyone has their role, with progress beginning on the objectives. Goals have been set, and people are now beginning to work on their tasks, right? So this is the third stage. We have used forming to get to know each other. We have used forming to arrive at a structure and process for working together. We are now focused on the goals. In the numbing stage, we are now using the processes, procedures we have developed from the storming stage. Because at the end of the day, for the team to move forward and not stay too long in the storming stage, we all have to have certain agreements. After those agreements are in place, then we move into the numbing stage, where we begin to deliver results, where we begin to take actions, where we begin to leave ourselves as individuals, as me, and begin to focus on us, we begin to focus on the group's goal and objective, right? As individual members take responsibility, team leaders can take a step back from the leadership role at this stage. So this is the point where the team is now being seen as more independent. They can now be more self-directing. They can now be able to take decisions on their own, right? For example, in our industry, a facility manager can be having toolbox meetings on a daily basis with the team. Everybody comes together, talk about what needs to be done, look at the resources, look at the tools, look at the challenges, look at the safety considerations, learn one or two skills together. And we're doing it on a regular basis, led by the facility manager who is acting as team lead. But over time, we begin to see that there's a lot of maturity. People are now norming, people are now coming up to lead. So at a point where I can get a supervisor to step in and conduct, and direct that session, get another supervisor to do it, and even get to the point where other members of the various groups that make up the team can also step up and do take some leadership role. I can now begin to step back. I've now created a system that works. So that's the whole idea. But this can only happen if every member of the team have been brought to that point where they feel a sense of belonging. They feel they can actually add value. They feel that they can actually govern themselves. Their ideas are being listened to. That's really empowerment. And that's what we should aim to get our teams up to, being able to govern themselves. The first stage of team development is the performing stage. They now know the work. They're making good progress towards achieving the results, right? So decision making is collaborative, and opposition is expected, of course. We don't want to muzzle people. We don't want to shut down dissenting voices. But of course, even with a dissenting voice in a group, which helps us to think out of the box and think widely, we get to a point where we now begin to have a pattern for decision making. So even if somebody doesn't agree initially with open communication and transparent discussion on the subject, we can easily see where the team as a whole is tilting towards. Usually, a majority of the team will win the day, especially if we're using voting or some kind of democratic process within the team as an agreed norm. So if we are 7 in a team and we do a vote and 5 says yes and 2 say no, those 2 that says no, because they were part of the storming and norming stages where we agreed that we're going to be using democratic process like voting to take a decision, they automatically, because they were part of that process, they automatically will accept the decision of the majority and then own it eventually as a compromise, because that's what they were part of creating as the way we should work, right? So the whole idea here is we are not going to impose on the team how they should do things, okay? And then we cannot eradicate that difference that exists between us as individuals. There will always be reference. There will always be that part of us coming out every now and then. But because we're part of the process of deciding how we're going to operate, we can always get past it without having issues. Now, some teams, in fact, most teams are not perfect. We can't say you were so lucky that you created a team and they were just a match made in heaven. Everybody were just perfect. They were in sync. There will always be need to create team building activities, right? Which helps to create more bonding, better understanding, improve communication between team members. So in addition to teaching team members the task, guiding them through the process of decision making and how to deliver on the task, it's also important to add activities that is going to help them to get to know each other better, get to be able to communicate with each other better, and be able to take decisions as a whole, as one unit, as a team. So it's important we develop team building processes, which helps to improve productivity and motivation, help the team members to gain, ability to resolve issues and problems. If there are personal agendas, it can easily be put aside and rapport can be built around the team because we have used team building events or activity to get to know ourselves and create that bond. And it's not so some aspects of team building or team building activities can be negative, right? Sometimes the activities themselves are not agreeable to some members of the team, right? So that can become an issue. Some activities are difficult for some people to participate in. So we need to think about it. So instead of having, oh, this is a team building activity and we don't have consensus on whether it's going to be built team, it's better to talk about it and make sure that we have an understanding on what we want to do. Something that's not too hard, something that's welcoming and relaxed for team members to participate in without feeling that it's another body. The job itself of being in the team, being able to achieve the goal of the team is already in themselves, like burdens or tasks. Then you now add team bonding or team building activities that now looks like more work. That can become a big turn off for team members. So it has to be easy to accept. It has to be a common, agreement. There has to be a common agreement that this is going to be useful for us as a team. All right. So one key way of communication, passing out information and exchanging ideas, one key tool we use as part of teams is we hold meetings, right? And sometimes meetings can become a nightmare, all right? If it is run well, it's a fantastic tool. Forum for information sharing, knowledge sharing, and so on, but it can quickly turn into a monotonous, wasted time. Okay, so we have to be very careful of how we run our meetings. They have to be planned carefully. There has to be prior information, of what the meeting is about and what each person is preparing to should prepare ahead of the meeting. Information that will be exchanged should be shared in an agenda up front. The schedule of the meeting, the time, the location, and so on and so forth has to be agreed and distributed early. So there has to be some form of coordination done by somebody in the team that shares proper information. It's not helpful to say, oh, we're going to have operations meeting by 9 a.m. in the morning. Operations meeting to do what? What are we trying to achieve with it? What would everybody who are being invited specifically to that team meeting, what are they bringing in? They have to come in there to bring something, and they have to come in there to take something. It has to be clear from the onset. One of the pitfall we have with meetings is the length of meetings. Meetings can become too long. And this is easy to understand. People want to be heard, right? And you don't want to shut people down. You just bring up something and say, let's brainstorm on this issue. Let's express ourselves, which is a good thing. But not everybody have the decorum, the discipline to know that a meeting has a time frame set for it and that everybody should have equal opportunity to talk. Some people will just hijack the meeting, basically. They will talk and talk and talk. They will make a single point and they will give, 10 minutes of rabble-rousing around that single point. At the end of the day, even that single point will be lost in all the many words that have been expressed, right? So, and this can become very, very tedious, especially for an organizer. You don't want to stop him and say, hey, you've said enough, right? Especially when every time you want people to talk, some have ideas, but they don't want to talk. They are quiet. The only few who want to talk want to occupy the whole time. And you are struggling to create a balance while you're also able to hear from each person. So setting some ground rules on how to comment to issues and topics might be helpful, right? Like, for example, every time we want to contribute to any issue, let's be conscious to not spend more than 1 minute, right? So if we are doing that and you have a timekeeper in the group, that timekeeper will be noting, whoever is taking more than a minute for its comment and can begin to play coordinator or monitor roles informally or even formally if appointed to do that. Because at the end of the day, you want to have, democratic approach to having the meetings and not making it too long. And then if a meeting has to be too long, for example, there are meetings that are structured, the things to discuss, actions to be arrived at, brainstorming, uh, analysis of data, and so on and so forth, will require so many hours. Then break it into 50 minutes and 10 minutes break and 50 minutes and 10 minutes break. That way, you're applying the 50-minute rule. You can rest between sessions. It's as if you are doing several meetings together. What is not good is sitting down for more than 1 hour and pretending to be in a meeting, because at that time you've lost so many people. Some of them are just captive audiences. Some of them have great ideas, but they can't talk anymore because they want the meeting to end. They just want the meeting to end. And at the earlier onset of the meeting, we allow too many people to talk too much and not allow time for important things to be said, which needs to be controlled. Anytime you think the problem is out there, that very thought is the problem. Stephen R. Covey. As a team, most of the time we come together as a team to brainstorm, put ideas together. It's to solve a problem. It's to create a solution. It's to do something that provides, some kind of results that helps us achieve some kind of goals. Team members bring a diverse set of skills to the team. This provides a great scenario and the best chance in finding a solution to a problem. Being able to harness the various thought pattern and reasoning of each person is very important when trying to solve a problem. And one of the tools that have been developed for solving problems as a team was done by Dr. Edward de Bono, published the 6 Thinking Hats, where he described decision-making and solution finding as a process that requires us to put on different colors of hats. To think in different ways, right? The white hat, he says, is the hat of neutrality. This is the hat of facts, only facts. This is where if everybody put on the white hat, we're going to take away our own personal feelings, our own personal judgments, our own personal thoughts, our own personal considerations, and we're going to represent issues or bring up data and numbers and ideas that have been expressed as facts, right? Even if not from us. So we are more neutral. We're presenting the views of people, whether they are there or not, as they presented it. That's what the white hat does. Sometimes when you're trying to settle a quarrel between two groups or two individuals, it's helpful to put on this particular hat. So you can hear this person as he's saying it, hear this person as he's saying it, and then pick out the fact from both of them. The red hat, when we put on the red hat, we're trying to apply emotions and feelings, right? This time it is the person who is speaking about his own conclusion, his own feelings, his own perceptions of the issue that is being discussed. So gut feelings, take for example, somebody is telling a story and you don't believe the story, right? If we put on the red hat, you are free at this point to say, I don't believe a word of what this person is saying, right? And these are my reasons for not believing. It's still your feeling. Everybody can express their feeling under these red hat moments in dealing with an issue. And then there's the black hat moment. The black hat is called the hat of negative judgment. This is the hat you all decide to put on because you want to look at the negative side of things. You want to look at risk. You want to look at hazards. You want to play the devil's advocate on a matter. We all might just be, all jolly good fellows. We've concluded and we're moving on something. And because we did not put on the black hats, we all were blindsided to a major risk. And then we all dive straight into a situation that burnt our noses or cost us dearly, right? So every now and then, in fact, for most projects, for most considerations, let's get to that point where we say, okay, as a team, let's all put on the black hats. Let's think what can go wrong, who can fail us, what systems might not work, what will happen if rain falls. All of those things that we do during risk management is a black hat event. And then you have the yellow hat. This is positive judgment. Participants identify benefits associated with an idea or issue. right? It is the opposite of the black hat thinking. All right. So it's still a matter of judgment. It's an analytical process, not just blind optimism. This is not the one we described, the one we say you use your feelings and so on. No, in this case, you are also using analysis to come up with positive. So if somebody says, what are the pros of this, the positive side, then you are using your yellow hat to make those judgments. And then you have the green hat, which is creative thinking, the hat of thinking new thoughts based around the idea of provocation and thinking for the sake of identifying new possibilities. Everything seems perfect. What else? Beyond it, what next? What other options are we possibly missing around this? So these are all innovative way or creative way of thinking, the green hat approach. And then the blue hat is the big picture hat. This is usually the hat that the leader of a team or a group should always have, because while all those ideas are coming in from different hats, you are looking at the impact on the overall organizational goal. So it's a big picture way of looking at things. You are at a very high level, giving a superior view of the implication and impacts of the various thinking patterns that the various hats are given to everybody in the team as we brainstorm on issues. And it's important that we use brainstorming often. I love brainstorming. Oh, just tell me what you think, about this. Let everybody express their thoughts. If you put them out in post-it notes or just taking down notes randomly, it gets out what everybody has in their mind, right? And to be honest, why it is very effective in many instances is the spontaneity. That's fact that certain thought will come to your mind when a certain question comes to you, and that thought is not over-processed. It just comes to you naturally, right? And it's very important that as teams, we are able to capture that essence, that spontaneous reaction or response that can give us a lot of ideas for achieving success or solving problems. Building consensus, a team has to be able to work together, and most of the time consensus will help us to work together. A win-win situation in which everyone feels that they have one solution that does not compromise any strong conviction or needs. There's no conflict around what we have chosen. In order to have a winner, the team must have a feeling of unity. Every player must put the team first ahead of personal glory. So that's the whole idea, teamwork. Can I succeed as part of a team and there's someone who has failed in that team? The answer should be no. If I'm succeeding, that means other members of the team are also succeeding. If I'm doing my part, it means I'm only part of a puzzle. I'm just one piece in the puzzle. Other team members make their pieces of the puzzle to create the picture. There's no way I can celebrate a good picture if I did not only, if I only applied my own puzzle piece and the others did not apply their own puzzle pieces. It's important that we are able to not only see our own parts, but see the bigger picture and see the impact of others. So that way, the decision we take to help ourselves succeed will not just be for us, it will be to ensure that we help each other members to play their role. And some things to avoid in working as a team member: being aggressive. Being aggressive is not the same as being assertive. Being assertive means expressing yourself, honestly, and making your opinions known, and being able to take a decision and take a stand on issues. That's being assertive. But being aggressive has a negative connotation. It sounds more like you're trying to put somebody down, trying to force, trying to box somebody into a corner, try to exert yourself. It's usually a self-serving or selfish emotion, being aggressive. Failing to let others express their opinions. This is something that we should also avoid, whether you're a team leader or a team member. Tell somebody, no, we know what you're going to say. Don't just bother. We know what you're going to say. Because you've created a stereotype in your mind about who somebody is, how the person talks, what the person thinks about, and what the person is going to say. And then you now want to, muzzle that person during a meeting. Very bad. And then inadequate planning. surprises are not very good for team members, right? It's good to have open communication where whatever is in the mind or the thought of one person is able to be expressed amongst to the other team members, so that each of them can contribute to a plan and we can have a plan that we can work together. If we're all coming to a meeting without any kind of plan on what we're going to talk about, the rest of that meeting is already doomed for failure. Encouraging teamwork means making a commitment and requires practice. Process is not instant and takes some time, so be patient. Teamwork is not something that you just achieve overnight. I don't disband a team, just because they are going through the phases or stages of team formation, or because they are staying too long in the storming stage or the numbing stage, and you look as if they are not making a progress. Of course, you want to guide the processes, but you also want to be sure that you are not impatient with that learning curve that you have to go through. So thank you so much. That's our session for today. I'd like to see if anyone has a question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Chair.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In a situation where one found himself from your line manager, he is always aggressive, bully, boxy, and he doesn't listen to opinion, then aftermath of that, he now noticed that even what he was actually fighting for, he was not right, and he sometimes claimed to be right. So how do we handle such cases as a support person?
It's a very good question. Sometimes we are tempted to feel that we know better how our supervisors or manager should behave. The manager or supervisor himself is also reacting based on certain impulses. Some of us translate that to mean they are feeling threatened of our capacity or our capability to replace them, or whatever we consider as the failure of that boss in creating that behavior on them. So my approach will be do all you can to make your bosses look good. Your supervisor should look good. The decision they take may not always align with your position. Express yourself assertively, but very humbly and in a very non-aggressive tone or manner. Adding enough points or analysis using data. Sometimes we use a lot of feeling in expressing ourselves. We don't have facts in what we are trying to express. So if you express with facts in a humble way, with enough information to express what you think, you have done your part. But whatever your manager or supervisor decides should be, automatically become converted to it. Take it on as if you never had any counter or contrary opinion and run with it as if it's your own idea. Over time, you begin to see a stronger affinity between you and that boss. You begin to see a better reaction of behavior towards you from that boss, and that's exactly your goal in that teamwork. So you have to play your part first. Show that you are supportive. I want my boss to succeed. I want him or her to be excellent. I want him or her to be, to achieve whatever he or she has set to achieve. I want that, and I really want to do everything it takes to make that happen. Once you are able to prove that, then you would have less and less negative reactions towards you.
There's a question.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome, Uche.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is asking, what's the difference in managing team of experts and team of learners approach?
So what that question is trying to drive towards is what we call employee maturity levels, right? There are people of different maturity levels. So when you are experts, according to from what I'm hearing, sounds more like you are mature, very mature, and one that expects you to have a lot of independence, a lot of decision-making abilities, a lot of empowerment, a lot of free hands, free approach. You're not being micromanaged. Whereas those who are at the bottom in the maturity hierarchy will require more hand-holding, will require more day-to-day monitoring, will require more tracking, and so on and so forth. So don't swap approaches, and don't think that one approach is good for all maturity levels. Because if you get people who are very advanced and highly professional, and you start trying to micromanage them, trying to box them to a corner, and try to be too detailed in your approach to their work, they will become demotivated and become more withdrawn. At the end of the day, you don't achieve what you want to achieve. Whereas those are the shop floor coming up as learners. If you lead them to their devices and say, hey, you guys have been employed, go and do what you have been asked to do, they may end up again making a lot of mistakes because they don't know, because they need to be guided, they need to be shown the example on how things are. So the approach has to be different. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, for making the time here. If you have further questions, we have the facility management training group where in the WhatsApp where you can just put those questions and I'll be there with you to answer them. On Thursday next week is another session. 1 p.m. is the time. I want to just prompt you, for those who have taken the FM diploma, you must know 1 or 2 persons that you can refer it to. It starts on the 19th of August. I will want that class to be filled up as quickly as possible. That's where we are right now. We have a 2 days high impact course coming up on the 11th and 12th of July. So for those who may not be able to afford the FM diploma because of the cost, for just 195,000 naira, you can have a taste of, high quality facility management training right here in the Max-Migold Training Center. So register by sending an email to training@maxmigold.com, WhatsApp chats to 080-220-20122. The number again is 080-220-20122. That's a direct line to reach us at Max-Migold, and I will be there to answer your inquiry as well. So thank you very much, and see you again next week, Thursday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.